It's Joy from Dragonfly Radio, and today with me I have Stephanie. And Stephanie, I caught her, it kind of caught my attention a few weeks back when I noticed she was doing a lot of blogging, a lot of information with His Mom Strong. And I really loved her social media component, so I asked her to be with us this morning. So, hi, welcome to Dragonfly Radio.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, before we get into the meat and potatoes and on all the information of life, can you give me a little bit about yourself? I don't even know where you live, what part of the country. I've never really done that. So let me know a little bit about yourself.
So I'm in Missouri. I work for a nonprofit. I'm a fundraiser. That's kind of my paycheck profession. So His Mom Strong, everything I do with it is on the side. Jackson, I refer to him a lot as Jay in my blog, is my son. He is 10. Going into the 5th grade, which is very hard for me to believe. So yeah, it's just him and I, and we're just plugging along.
Now, I came across your blog actually a little while back when I started reading it, before I even noticed your social media. I forget which one came to my attention, and I really liked your personal connection. I really loved your honesty, your integrity.
Yeah.
You write so ethically, like it's just beautiful written.
Thank
and
you.
You can tell it's from the heart, and that's what attracted me. Can you explain to the listeners and for the audience a little bit about your personal journey and why you started blogging?
Sure, and I'll be honest, when I started, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted it to be or what I wanted it to look like. I've always loved writing. I had some friends who've always encouraged me to start a blog, and I feel like I have a story to tell. It's not always a happy story, but I feel happy in my life, and so I do cover a lot of grief just because of my own personal experience, but kind of as you said, my goal really is to encourage people to be authentic. Authenticity is important to me. I feel like if we were all more honest about hardships, whether it be the loss of a loved one, or divorce, or someone's child gets arrested or something silly, that that's okay, that life is going to happen in a million different ways, in a million different spaces. And I just wanted people to be honest about if you're not happy, that's, everyone goes through these spurts where they have hard times, and suicide prevention is actually one of my biggest passions. And so I just feel like if we were all more honest about the things that were going on in our lives that caused some strife, that it would just take the pressure off, and that we would all be a lot happier, I think, if we were all honest about the imperfections in our lives. And so for me, when I was going through I call it the bulk of my grief, or when I was in the thick of my grief is what I refer to a lot. So I was 29 when my boyfriend got diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. He was 33, kind of the month of his 34th birthday, was diagnosed with May 7th. It's odd that I remember it was my sister's birthday as well. So it's kind of an odd day for me. So he was diagnosed in May, and less than a year later, February 2008, he passed away. So this past February marked 2 years. And if I can describe my grief, it would be inconsistent. And I felt like because of my age, and I just felt like I bought a lot of grief books, and I read a lot of grief blogs, and I felt like there was just a lack of authenticity. And I didn't have a lot of information that I could relate to. Maybe it was because I wasn't officially a widow. Luke and I always say I chased him for the better part of 6 years.
Okay.
We were off and on, for 6 years, and we always said Rachel and Ross, or he was my Mr. Big, and just one of those relationships, but never a lack of love, and so it was a lot of dynamics to my grief. And so I knew that there were other people who were feeling the things that I were feeling. And I didn't want people to feel alone in their grief. And I wanted people to have a space. And I think my social networks and, people can interact with me on my blog, just to share their story so they don't feel alone.
And I think that's amazing. And I've seen that just in the last few months watching yours, because for me, Dragonfly Advisory Services and Dragonfly Radio is such a new concept here in Northern Ontario, where we are in Canada. And for me, it's an amazing opportunity to kind of see what else is out there and what's in the market. Not the technology part of it, but just what people are doing with their grief. And I've watched your statistics grow. Like, your following is huge. Like, it's amazing to see the interaction from the individuals within, I'm assuming, your organization, your community, your part of the world, and your social media, your blog. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing. I think it's amazing that you're taking that negative experience, and it sucks. I'm the first to say, right?
Yeah.
Sucks. I don't try and sugarcoat it. I've lost both my parents tragically. It sucks. There's no easy way about it. And it's an ongoing experience with us.
Right.
Why? And I understand you wanted that, to be authentic, and that's why you started your journey. What did you have being in where you lived? And was there a lot of support in your community for cancer, especially of a rare form?
So he did have to travel for treatment. So a portion of his treatment did happen here. So he would do 1 week on for chemo and 1 week off. And I did start seeing a therapist when he was diagnosed, just to kind of help me deal with that was something that I paid for through my insurance. We do have, I think, I live in Springfield, Missouri, and our community has a wealth of services, and even very specific to grief. Jackson and I both attended it's Lost and Found Grief Center, and they specialize in children's group therapy, and they even have a group now for if a family member has been diagnosed with a serious illness, whether it's terminal or not. It really changes the dynamic of the household. And they walk them through, what does chemo mean? And there are a lot of rules when someone is on a certain cocktail, like maybe they will have to use a different bathroom, or and so they really just help the kids understand that illness and how it will affect the household. But it was probably 6 months after we lost Luke that I finally called. I wasn't sure that we would qualify because Luke wasn't Jackson's dad. We were at a really weird place when he passed. Jackson's dad, kind of at that 5-month mark, moved away out of state pretty abruptly. And so Jackson lost 2 people, very important to him, in a short span. And so it was just kind of really help. And so I called them, and I was very apprehensive. I didn't know if it was a good fit. I didn't want people to feel like I was dragging out my grief, or, this had happened 5 months ago. And like I said, Luke wasn't Jackson's dad. And but luckily, they were very gracious, and they welcomed us with open arms. And so I didn't technically attend a group. I would take Jackson every other week to group therapy, and that all of the parents meet. And so we talk about what it's like to parent a child who is grieving. And a lot of times we talk about our own grief. I loved my group. I actually met one of my best friends. It was her first night as a volunteer facilitator, and it was my first night of group. And she's my best friend now, and I just can't imagine life without her. But she has a similar story. She lost her husband, kind of widowed at a young age, and we've bonded. And I just, like I said, I really cannot imagine life without her. And I don't know that I would have gotten through certain spots. And not all of my grief has it's not been done with grace. I truly did not know. No one's prepared for it, but I truly didn't know how to let go. And I didn't want to. And so they kind of, when you are with the people, they normalize, there was one lady in my group who said that she stopped cooking after she lost her husband, and she was harboring a lot of guilt. Like we do that, right, with grief. So whatever emotion we feel, we just put some guilt on top of it. And she said that she stopped cooking after her husband passed away, and she felt really bad because she has kids and they were eating out. And I said, right now you're just surviving this, and there was a time frame where I was really depressed and I wasn't cooking as much as I felt like I should, as a mom. And so when she heard me say that, she told me later that made her feel so much better because she was feeling so guilty, and she felt like she was the only person in the world who ever stopped cooking. It's hard when, especially if there are certain meals you always prepare for a person or you cook for, it's hard. It's the littlest things to get back to. So, but we have, and I kind of work within the social service industry, and so I'm very well aware of the services, but they have low cost, no cost counseling services. Like I said, Lost and Found, all of their services are absolutely free. I recently posted some pictures of a memorial event. Lost and Found hosted that. And so I think we're kind of at a place where I hope to be a volunteer facilitator and always stay connected with them to kind of pay forward the help that they've given us.
Yeah.
Because I'd say the biggest change, people look at kids, and if they're not crying, they're not grieving. If they don't look sad, they're not grieving, but it's so different. And so going to Lost and Found, Jackson and I, and it took, even I continue to learn things about Jackson and how he processed his grief, and like I said, it's been over 2 years. And I think the biggest thing is that we were just able to communicate much better.
The Lost and Found organization that you're involved with, is that a national organization? Is it a local community organization?
It is local, yeah.
Have you thought of broadening it? Have you had that conversation where you're thinking it might, be beneficial to other parts of the country and bringing it to?
I'm not. I'm right now just a participant. And so I think that's probably not a question that I can answer. I see a huge need for that service, and I certainly wish that more communities had it. Because, I think when someone, like a celebrity, passes away, then we can have that conversation. But, in the real world, you lose someone and there are condolences, but then after a month or two, even if you can recognize you're having a really rough day, they don't want to talk about it anymore. People tire of your grief, and they don't know what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing. And I'll say I'm guilty of kind of being snippy for both. Like, you didn't bring it up, or you brought it up, but you did it the wrong way,
That's true. You're hitting it right on the nail. You go through those days, and you're right. You think, well, nobody even asked me today. Like, how do they know what I'm feeling? But if they do, you ask, like, can you not talk about something else? Like, it's a sunny day today. Right. I hear that. I do. I totally get that. Yeah. I think that as we grow in age, and again, I believe it comes back to only knowing what you need to know. For all we know, there could be other organizations very similar in nature in your next community. But if you've never needed it, you don't know it's there, right? Right. It's not ignorant. It's just we only know in life what we needed to know. It's unfortunate that we come there and all of a sudden it's like, okay, how do we move forward? You mentioned that, months, 2 years pass. I truly believe grief is an ongoing lesson, right? It never goes away. 10 years later, it's still going to be there. But those experiences, such as this day, whatever's happening in your life, you're helping to let others know they're not alone. And I think that's amazing to be able to tell your story. And, you know, because maybe in a neighboring community, province, city, town, capital, they're going to sit there and see, and they're going to be, you know what? She hit it right on. I'm not by myself. I can do this. And I have somebody I can call upon or just touch base with and say, you know what? I don't think there's a right or wrong.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I always, you know, I have a lot of people, I get a lot of messages, and I always have to preface everything with, I'm not a grief expert. I'm not a licensed professional.
You're not a life coach. You're not. You're a mom.
You know, I speak solely from my personal experience, and, you know, and I think that's what is so special and important about Lost and Found, is that every group is led by a professional, and they are facilitated conversations that are guided by professionals, especially for the kids groups. I can't say enough about the facilitator who led Jackson. I mean, I love him dearly, and there were a lot of times something maybe would happen and we would be 2 weeks out from group, and I would say, you know, you don't have to talk to mommy, but I want you to talk to someone. And I would maybe list a couple of names, and I'd say, well, do you think you could talk to Chris about this? And always yes to Chris. And so, you know, but I think that's an important piece, and I have to mention that, or the director probably, it is important. I think all grief groups are well intended, but I think making sure, you know, people need a safe space to vent, but I also think it does need to be led by someone who does have a professional background. I just, you know, like I said, I think all grief groups are well intended, and I all think that they serve a purpose, but I do think it's very important that there be a professional there to facilitate those conversations and to kind of filter some of the things that are said, because grief is different for so many people. You do sometimes have conflicting beliefs within group. And so having a professional there to kind of guide the conversation, I think is a really key component. So anyone who would be interested in starting a grief group in their community, I would think that would be a key. Identifying a professional to maybe volunteer their services or be employed by the organization. You know, we're very lucky that we have, you know, a doctor who is, she's dedicated her life to helping children who are grieving and helping families, and she's incredible. And I'm so thankful, you know, that she's done that, and they continue to develop more programs, grief groups for parents who have lost adult children, because while, you know, I say loss is loss, grief is grief, they certainly feel things that I can't imagine. It's different for everybody, but I think there are some specific things that are some consistencies within certain losses that I probably haven't felt because of my relationship with Luke. So I just do. I think that piece is important for sure.
So where now? You've done so much for your community. You've done so much education about grief and your journey yourself, your personal loss. And I totally agree with you. It's not our textbook trait, right? It's not what we do, but if we're able to assist families going through that process, we get it. We understand what it's like. But do you have future goals? Do you know what you want to do when it comes to the grief and the loss that you've experienced?
I mean, like I said, and it's funny because people always think that I would be more, you know, cancer is obviously a very hot button issue for me. I don't want to, it's never saturated, right? Like we can never oversaturate like cancer research or assisting individuals who have been affected by cancer. But I just really struggled with my grief, and that became kind of, I don't want to say I'm different from anyone else, but I just truly felt like I don't know how to do this. I really struggled with the concept of you lose someone who is a part of your everyday, and then there's this expectation that you just go on with your life and be happy. And I hated that idea. It made me feel like people are replaceable, which obviously isn't the case, but I felt that way for a long time. And so I think moving forward, I recently posted on my social network kind of a 6-month, because it's been about 6 months since I started His Mom Strong in my blog, kind of 6 months in review, and I have a small submission that will be published, and I have, in a week's time, some of my content has reached over 65,000 people, and I never in a million years, I truly, when I started, I think it was an outlet for me, and if I helped 1 or 2 people, that was great.
Yeah.
And so some people, and I still cry sometimes thinking about these comments. One of my regular readers wrote something, not a direct quote, but to the effect that she had read other grief blogs, but mine was the first that she had read. And I just told her, I said, if you were the only person who read my blog, I would continue to read it. So I think for as long as I feel like I'm helping people, I'll continue my blog. Poetry is something I've always enjoyed reading, but I didn't know that I had a knack for. And I've met really great mentors, individuals like you who give me opportunities like this. So, I don't know, honestly. I think the sky's the limit, and I don't want to marry myself to one idea, because where I started and where I am now, it's so different, so who's to say what the next 6 months will bring? I'm very open, I just, like I said, authenticity, and I always want to be helping people, but my biggest piece is just authenticity, because grief is a very ugly thing, and my grief was very inconsistent. I felt, okay, and then, the 1-year anniversary it almost broke me. I don't know what it was about that 1 year that I just lost myself, and it felt so raw. It was almost like I lost him. It just cemented, I think, because I think if you haven't lost someone who is a part of your everyday, death is a concept. It's an idea. It's not until you lose someone who is a part of your everyday that you understand that death is so final, and these people go away, and it is what it is. They're just gone, and that was really hard for me to swallow. And so I think that 1 year kind of cemented that for me, that this is forever, and that was really, really difficult for me.
Well, so I'm very honored to have had an opportunity today to speak with you. I think you have definitely enriched many lives in the world without even realizing the impact you've made. I think it's wonderful, and I personally am honored to have had this opportunity. I think Luke was a very special person. Never even have met him. I think he was very lucky to have you in his life. If this is what you're doing after, I couldn't imagine what you did before. I think you're very, very fortunate to have you in his corner. I think you're going to do wonderful things. I cannot wait to see what your next journey, what your next piece of artwork will be. You're so creative in what you express. It's amazing, and I'm very honored.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pardon?
I said thank you. It's incredible. I just am so thankful. I have people, I have one reader, she's in Australia, so to have connected from someone, you're in It is. It's just become something so much bigger than me. And I've written in my blogs that this, it's not Luke's blog. It's not my blog. My blog is for my readers. And, like I said, as long as I feel like I'm helping people, and it's been such a therapy for me, I would encourage anyone to journal their thoughts, because then you see how far you've come. My grief journal is so inconsistent, because one day I can say like, everything's a gift, and the next day I'm like, that idea made me mad, so, but I do think that that's a good outlet, and I would encourage anyone to try it.
And I didn't start for me, the milestones, when we lost our parents, it was very sudden, and I did really well for the first few years, and life went on. I had kids, post-secondary, graduating high schools and graduating colleges, and then all of a sudden I'm in my 30s, I'm not even 40, and I'm dealt with this overwhelming grief with my parents' loss that, they lived not even a kilometer from my home, grew up, were there for all those special moments. For me, it was those milestones in life where the weddings, the births, the grandchildren, those special events, that's when it hit me hard. It was like a tsunami. It was just, I was drowning and I couldn't get out of it. And that's when I decided I needed to have an option, and looked at grief counselors, and was able to, find one that was wonderful and help me through the process. And I think often we think we have to go through it alone, and we don't. There's so many resources. Now, especially with social media, but
yeah. And that's one thing that I discovered. I didn't realize, I knew for me, but a lot of my grief was anger, and I don't think my story is, it's more common than I realized, feeling like a widow, but not really being one. And like I said, Luke's diagnosis in that 9 months of his chemo and his treatment, we were at a very weird place when he passed. And so that was a layer of my grief. But I think just so many people have reached out to me, and I didn't realize how many people felt so alone in their grief until I started sharing my story. And people just will post a picture to my page. They just everyone deserves to be remembered. Yep. And we want our people, that's part of it for me, is just keeping his memory alive. I think everyone deserves to be remembered, and I want people to remember the person that I knew and who he was to me. And he was incredibly proud of Jackson, even though he wasn't Jackson's dad. And so my blog and my stories, that he's forever tied to Jackson, and that's important to me too. And then I love that that legacy is there for him, even though he's not here.
No, I think it's wonderful. I'll stop recording in a few minutes, but if you don't mind just staying on after we let go. I'm very honored, as I mentioned, for you to have been part of Dragonfly Radio today. And this was the reason for me, Dragonfly Radio is a way to be creative in my grief and to let others in the country know they're not alone. And there's so many different cultures and beliefs in society. And we need to start working together, not against, and try and utilize whatever we can to let other families know and individuals. I don't know if there's an easy answer at any point in time in life, but I do know that meeting individuals like yourself, and for us, others that'll be becoming part of Dragonfly Radio in the future, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that we can let the communities know, society, the world, because who knows where this is going to hit for all of Australia just with one link, right? Your story is going to be told, and they're going to be, I know someone who, has similar experience, and I can be part of that. But I want to thank you on behalf of Dragonfly Radio and our team for being part of this morning with us and doing a Sunday share. And this has probably been my best Sunday share, and I'm coming in a long time. I think, and probably our best Sunday share ever to date. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you, Stephanie, for being part of our story today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, for the opportunity. I'm so thankful, and it's truly a joy. It's ironic that your name is so fitting. I always enjoy our interactions, and I'm thankful for you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being with Dragonfly Radio. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you. You too.